of the rugby community, and
Right.
that's what the league needs to grow,
Right.
right? So
Right.
yes, you can sell tickets to the typical rugby people.
Right.
They'll want to see him come see him, and um, but in terms of if you want to expand, there's some guys in traditional sports that didn't make it that probably will move the needle on the sales side
Right.
more
Right.
than Maunane.
That's because that's always my argument. I think I'm always more. I maybe because I don't have any money, so I'll say I'm always pro development. Because if you're not, then why are you involved in any sport if you're not wanting to develop a person or a squad or whatever. But I think it's so right. Not that yeah. We all understand like these examples are extreme and they are great players. They're good players. Even if they're at the real tail end of their careers,
Yeah,
that's
but I'm not saying don't bring those guys over,
sure.
but you also, I've learned in my older age now to not um, expect people to think just like you.
Sure.
So that's a challenge because we have a lot of decision makers and roles in the MLR that think like bringing those players over is really it, it certainly made, like, you can look at LA. It's 100% made them a good rugby team.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean that it will translate to the general population coming to watch because they don't know who those guys are.
Right.
So you can't if you're kind of coming from Australia and go, well, yeah, if we bring Matt Giteau over,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to sell all these tickets. It's not going to happen.
Right. I doubt there's a very
You
big
sell them to the
percentage.
rugby population, yes, I'm giving you that.
Sure.
I'm just saying if we want to grow, it doesn't necessarily move the needle for the the non-rugby sports fan that you need to capture.
Right. Should I suppose in a way we probably covered this, but should there be a bit more emphasis? Should a bit more emphasis be placed on universities, college rugby, so that um, there is this exposure or is it okay to have these really big schools that are obviously big football schools, American football
Yeah.
schools, um, unattached to rugby at all? Is Do you not see that maybe there could be a marriage or some kind of help there?
Um, like I said, I mean, I'm a bit biased. My development um, started in the university game.
Mm,
I coached the collegiate All American team, and in my time as general manager, we um, set up. We had always played Canada, or not always, but we'd often played Canada as our university team, which we called the collegiate All Americans.
mm,
Um, and that's just because that's kind of what American sport does. You pick a team at the end of the year of a season, and
yeah,
it's the All American team, right? So it's
right,
the best players in that sport. Difference with rugby is that we actually went out and played, and
right,
Jack Clark, who was the general manager, was really the genesis of that program, and um, deserves credit for developing that program, which then developed a lot of national team players.
right.
So I think it's still important. You still have to have that. The MLR, it's not to say that the MLR hasn't paid attention.
Mm,
They've, we'll see how it goes, but they had their first ever draft before this season from picking players from last season in 2020, right?
okay.
And there's been some that have really, really done well in the MLR.
Mm,
And so hopefully they see the value of that and keep bringing those. Whether doing a draft right now, I I think jury's out on that. I applaud them
yeah,
for trying it,
yeah,
um, but it's just it's a little bit different. Like because you're still deciding right now when you go into MLR whether am I going to kind of follow my career path or rugby path. A lot of
right,
guys. in
Right.
terms of, is that better for my future? So to make a guy uproot and move to another city, and it's a bit of up to them. It's a free market, right? So
Mm.
they have that decision,
Mm.
but it could be a tough decision for somebody in that sense for not a lot of financial reward.
Sure.
But at the
Because
same time, it's probably for most people, it's the right time to take a risk like that. As a young person,
sure.
um, with most wouldn't have established families and things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not. I mean, I heard about the draft idea, and I was like, oh, this can be interesting. But it's like, yeah, obviously, you're not. If you're making that decision as a 19, 20, 21 year old when you leave university, uh,
And our guys are typically a little older. That they'll be
right,
21 to 23.
right. So that and they would have finished their 4 year degree in most cases. Then I guess if you're at 23.
Yeah.
It's not like you're walking into an NBA salary on him.
Yeah. And that's the
That's
other side of it too, is like we can debate the value of a university education now, but you don't want, in my opinion, you don't want guys leaving university for it's not like they're getting $1 million signing bonus.
sure.
So for a contract that that pays them a couple thousand a month, maybe initially, till they.
Mm.
But even top players, if it's 45,000 a month, I mean a month, that'd be really
It's like I'll come over now. Um,
for a year.
right.
That's still like to leave a degree that may help you for the rest of your life, where rugby's fleeting and can be over tomorrow, right?
Right.
So I think we want to make sure that we're not, that we not encouraging people to not finish their degree
Sure.
and
Sure.
leave, and so it's about being that's a culture of being good people and saying like this is important for you to get your degree, and then we'll look at you once you finish that.
Yeah. You know what I